Hello everyone. So today we are going to solve one of the LeetCode challenge, that is finding all duplicates in an array. So this particular problem has an acceptance of 70% and the difficulty is medium. It looks very simple by the name, but let's see whether it is that simple. Let's solve the online coding challenge on LeetCode, which is finding all the duplicates in an array. The difficulty level of this problem is medium. Okay, so let's read the problem now. Given an integer array nums, that is the name of an array of length n, where all the integers of this array, that is of this nums array, are in the range of 1 to n, which means if the length of an array is 5, all the elements in that array are going to be in the range of 1 to 5. Okay, it can be in any order, but they will be in the range of 1 to 5, and each integer can appear once or twice. Okay, so we have to return an array of all the integers that appears twice. So the problem is very simple. Given an array, you have to find the elements which appears twice. So let's see what is the condition over here. So the condition over here is you must write an algorithm that runs in O of n time complexity, that is order of n operation, which means basically it means you just have to iterate once through the entire list or entire array. Okay, so basically whatever the number of elements are there in your array, only that many times you should perform the operation. Okay, and not more than that. So that is O of n time complexity. And you also have to use only constant extra space. So there are only two conditions over here. Make sure that the solution that you provide is having O of n time complexity, and it also uses an constant extra space. Okay, so as you read this problem, okay, just by the name of it, like find all duplicates in an array, the first solution that comes to mind is what you can do is you can run two loop, right? Nested loops basically. So the outer loop will traverse on each element of an array, and for each iteration the inner loop is going to traverse the entire array. Okay, for example, the outer loop is on 4 over here, and what you can do in inner loop, you can traverse on 3 to 7 and keep on checking, does the 4 match to 3? No. Does 4 match to 2? No. Does 4 match to 7? No. So you keep on doing till the end of an array. If you find there is a match, you put it in an output array and return that array. Okay, for example, let's come to 3. Okay, so when you move to the next iteration, that is 3, for 3 you are going to match it with 4, 2, 7, 8, 2, 3, 1. So 3, you found a match over here, right? So you will put that match in an output array. Okay, similarly it will happen for 2. Okay, so this is the nested loop approach, or we also call it as a brute force approach. So for most of the coding challenges we will have, there will be one brute force approach where we will use the nested loops and try to solve it. Okay, but this is not suggested because the condition over here, as you can see, it says that you have to follow O of n time complexity, and the nested loop approach is basically using O of n square. Okay, even if this condition is not mentioned, we should avoid using brute force approach or O of n square approach. Now, so okay, first solution we can't do it, nested loop we can't do it. The second solution that can be done is creating a hash map. This hash map will have key as the element and value as the number of occurrences of that element. Okay, so what we need to do is we just need to iterate on this array. So suppose you go to the first element, you are going to check in the hash map if that element is there as a key. If it is there, you are going to get the value of that element, that is the occurrence, and you are going to add 1 to that occurrence. If it doesn't exist in that hash map, then you are going to insert a new key and the occurrence will be 1. You keep on doing this. So as you can see over here, for 3, first time when you encounter 3, you are going to add it as key and value as 1. Second time when you encounter 3, you are going to get the value, because the 3 already exists as a key, you are going to add 1 to that value. So the key is 3 and the value is 2. Similarly for 2, the key is 2 and value is 2. Later on you can just traverse on that hash map and check the elements or check the keys which are having the value as 2 and put that keys in a new array and return that array. So this solution basically is following O of n time complexity, because we are just iterating once on an array. Okay, although we are iterating on the hash map second time, but it is not O of n square, because we are not doing any nested loop over here. It is also a one pass in hash map or one pass on hash map, right? But as you can see over here, there is one more condition mentioned, that is use only constant extra space, and we are not using constant extra space. The space complexity over here is also O of n. So even the second solution we can't use. So now what we can do? So let's read the problem once again, specifically this part, and the solution appears in this part. Okay, so it says where all the integers of the nums array are in the range of 1 to n, which means that all the elements, okay, are going to have a certain index position in an array. Okay, so it is 1 to n, right? So if you subtract -1 from each element, okay, whatever the number of elements are, you are going to find a index position in that array. Why subtract 1? Because obviously the array's index begins from 0, right? And the element over here we are saying is 1 to n, so we have to subtract 1. So if you subtract 1 from this element, you are going to find some index position in that array, and you can mark that index position once you find a particular element, and next time you find that element, you know, okay, this index position is marked, which means there is some element in that array that has marked this index position. Okay, and this element is exactly marking at the same index position, which means it is duplicate. So let me explain you. Let's whiteboard the solution now. I am going to create an array. As you can see, the length of this array is 5. I am going to just note that down. Length is 5, and as I said earlier, like in the question, as we have seen, the elements in this array are going to be in the range of 1 to n, that is 1 to 5 in our case. So I'll say element are going to be in the range of 1 to 5. Input array. So this is my input array. Let me just put some numbers based on this condition that the element should be in the range of 1 to 5. I'll put 5, I'll put 3, I'll put 4, I'll put 3, I'll put 1. Okay, so these are my numbers. So what was the solution that we discussed? Based on the condition that the elements in this array are 1 to 5, we know that when we subtract 1 from each of these elements, we are going to find a particular index position in an array, right? And if there are two numbers which corresponds to the same index position, that means the duplicate exists, and those numbers are duplicates in an array. So that was the whole approach behind this solution. How we are going to do it? We are going to iterate on each element, right? And after iterating, like during the iteration on each element, so for example this is 5, right? We are going to subtract it by 1, so that is 4, right? And we are going to find the fourth index position, so that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put a marker over here. Then go to the next one, 3 minus 1 is 2, so 0, 1, 2. Put a marker over here. 4 minus 1 is 3, so you do 0, 1, 2, 3. Put a marker over here. Go to the next number, that is 3. 3 minus 1 is 2, so 0 0 1 2. Put a marker over here. Now before putting the marker itself, you can see there is already an marker existing at that position, which means there was number 3 in this array, right? Because 3 minus 1 is 2, and there was a marker at the second index position, so we are sure that number 3 is duplicate in an array, right? Is duplicate in this particular array. But now the question is, what marker are we going to place? So we found a solution. Okay, just do the iteration on each number, do -1, go to that index position and place a marker. Okay, and if you find a marker already existing in that index location, that means that number is duplicate. So we found the solution, but how are we going to put the marker? Can we put some number over here? Can we put something that is higher than 5? No, because we are modifying the array in that case, and we want to have the original number. So we have to modify the number in such a way that we can easily get back that original number, right? So for example, if I do for this first, right, 5 minus 1 is 4. So if I go to this index position, the fourth index position, and if I want to put a marker, I should put it in some way that when I get back to this particular number on iteration, I should get 1 back over here, right? If I change 1 by some other number, it is going to be difficult for me. So what I can do is I can do a negative of that number. So once I visit that location, I am going to do negative of the existing number. Although I am changing the number, but it is easy to get back that original number. Okay, like in Java, what we can do is we can use math.absolute. Okay, so whenever we are going to retrieve that number, we can do math of absolute. In this case, it is -1. So you are going to get the original number back, that is 1, right? So that is the approach that we are going to use over here. Let's see how it will work. So for 5 we have done -1. Now for 3 we are going to do -1 over here, that is at the second index position. For 4 we are going to do -3 over here. Okay, and now we move to this index position, right? And we are going to use math.absolute for this -3, and you are going to get 3 out of that, right? So you are going to get 3 over here. You do 3 minus 1 2, so 0 1 2, but you already see a negative number over here, which means that 3 is duplicate, because since it is duplicate over here, that means there was a same number, okay, that is 3 minus 1 2, and which has added a negative number over here, right? So you are sure that 3 is duplicate in this particular array, right? So just to summarize how it is going to work, there are only 2 important steps in this solution. Solution is very simple, but understanding the approach behind that is a bit tricky. Okay, so how this solution works: iterate on each element of an array. Okay, for every element in an array, first thing that you are going to do is subtract it by 1. Okay, and then you are going to find a particular index position. So in this case 5 minus 1 is 4. You find that index position, check whether a negative value exists in that position. If negative value exists in that position, that means there was a same number that has visited that index location. Okay, now let's write the code, and you can see how simple the code is going to be. Okay, so let's first create the list that we are going to return, that is integer. I'll say result okay. Now for what I'm going to do is I'm going to iterate on the nums array, right? So I'll say integer I equals to 0, I is less than nums dot length I plus plus, right? Now what we are going to do is, there are 3 steps, right? First is subtract by 1. Every element you are going to subtract by 1. Second is check if negative number exist, right? If negative number exists, you are going to put that in output array. Third, you are going to make current number negative, right? So whatever is the current number at that index position, we are going to make it as negative. Okay, so now let me start first with getting the index. So we are going to get the index by subtracting the current number by 1. So as I said, we are going to use math.absolute. So I'll do math.absolute of nums I and then do -1. And we know, right, why we are doing math.absolute, because we are going to put a negative number, and when doing the iteration and while getting the index position, we want the original number at that iterations index, right? So we are doing this math.absolute. Now we got the index position. So first is done, subtract by 1 to get index position, I would say over here. Next is check if negative number exists. So there is an if condition over here. If number at this index position, that is in nums array for this index position, if it is less than 0, then just add it to the output array. So you say result.add, and again while adding to this output array, we have to make sure that we use math.absolute to get the original number, and we are going to say nums of I. Just to be sure, you have to use nums.i, right? So nums.index is just an index position that we are marking, but nums.i is the actual number, okay, that we are saying that it is duplicate, because we found a negative number exists at the index position, which we have calculated based on this number, right? So that is why we are adding this nums of I, which is the actual number, in the output array, saying that this is duplicate. Now making the current number negative, which means that we have to use nums index and do a negative of that. Right, and then at the end of the iteration, we are going to return result. Now going back to this whiteboard, we are following this approach, right? For every iteration, we are subtracting it by 1, going to that corresponding index location, whatever is the number, like 5 minus 4, going to the 4th index position, checking if the negative exists. If it exists, put it in output array, and if it does not exist, in that case, every time we are going to basically negative that number and put in this same index position, that is 4 in this case, right? Now let's run this code. Okay, so as you can see, for the one of the test case, that is input, it is given this, and output is 2 and 3, same we are getting over here. Now let's just submit this code and see. Okay, so it says success, and it is 5 milliseconds faster than 89.88% of submissions for this code. So this is how we have solved this problem. I'm going to make a lot of other videos on solving this LeetCode challenges. Okay, it is very interesting to do that. So kindly subscribe to my channel. Thank you.